Sometimes the built-in validators in Mongoose don't give us the kind of validation we need. For example, look at this tags property. Our tags is a string array. What if we want to enforce this rule that every course should have at least one tag? We cannot use the required validator here because with required, we can simply pass an empty array and that will be perfectly valid from Mongoose's point of view. So here we need a custom validator. So first we need to replace this with an object. So replace this with an object. Here we set the type to array. Now we need to define a custom validator. So here we set the validate property to an object. In this object we have a property called validator, which we set to a function. This function takes an argument v, which is short for value, and here we can implement our custom validation logic. So we can return something like this. If v.length is greater than 0, then this property will be valid. We can also set a custom message here. So this validate object has another property that is message. So message, we set that to a course should have at least one tag. Now let's test this. So back in our course object, first I'm going to set category to a valid value, so web, and then here I'm going to pass an empty array. So back in the terminal, node index.js. All right, look, a course should have at least one tag. What if we exclude this property like this? Let's see what happens. One more time. We get the same message. A course should have at least one tag. So if we don't set this property, because we defined its type as an array, Mongoose will initialize this to an empty array. Now, what if we set this to null? So null. Back in the terminal. Okay, look, cannot read property length of null. This is not the kind of validation message we want to get. So we need to modify our validation logic to something like this. If v has a value and the length property is greater than 0, then this property will be valid. So back in the terminal, let's run this one more time. A course should have at least one tag. Beautiful. So this is how you define a custom validator. You set the validate property to an object. In this object, you add this validator function, and optionally you can set a message.